Hey there, I'm Melissa Knowles, and you're watching Chopping It Up with Buck.
Hey, welcome to Chopping It Up with Buck. I got one of my best homegirls. She's from Houston, like I am. She worked with me at ESPN back in the day, and we used to have a good time talking about home. I got to meet her mom and dad. It was just real cool. She's like my younger sister. I know she has siblings, but not Uncle Buck, but she's like a sister to me. We've had a great time, and I've watched her grow and develop. Melissa Knowles, the headline news correspondent, who's all over everything. Thank you for joining us today.
It is such an honor and a privilege to be with you today, Buck. I just can't believe it's been so long. I think you and I met, in 2007?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm dating us right now. My bad.
Yeah, well, you came to ESPN doing the Big 12 show, and then they started putting you on some sideline packages, and we had a chance to work together for a couple of years. I know you love sports, but talk to me about the maturation from going to SMU, working there, then getting into sports, and now getting to where you are now. Because, whenever I turn on the TV, and Robin Meade is huge, but I think everybody's looking for Melissa Knowles, who some people think you're Beyonce's cousin. But
here you go. I knew it was coming. You didn't even try to be slick with it. That's okay.
I don't. Because remember when we first met, knows it all. I'm like, Houston. And we talked about it. But we'll get into that. But tell us about what made you get into this business, because it's crazy and it's wild, but you've had a really good run. And tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Yes. So I knew I wanted to study journalism when I was at SMU. And for a little while, I also had a marketing minor. I dropped that because I did not want to go to class on Fridays. Mom, if you're watching, sorry about that. And so then I put my total focus on journalism. And what's weird is that in the beginning, all I really wanted to focus on was being a writer. I wasn't trying to be in front of the camera. I wasn't someone who had these ambitions of being a broadcaster. Of course, growing up in Texas, it's impossible, whether you're a boy or a girl, to not be inundated with sports. So you're either going to love it or you're going to like it, or I guess you could possibly hate it, but it's everywhere. So I grew up wanting to watch sports and be a part of it. So once I graduated from SMU with a broadcast journalism degree, or with journalism degree, and started seeing which opportunities were available for me, it seemed like broadcasting was the direction to go. At my first job, which was Channel 1 News, and not to be confused with News 1. News 1 is in New York, and Channel 1 is an educational network that broadcasts in high schools and middle schools across the country. I became like the go-to sports person at that network. And that was from that, I became, that's when I made the jump over to ESPNU, because I had covered the Super Bowl and a couple of other, U.S. Army All-American Bowl. Man, this was 2003 we're talking about, and just kind of learning as I went along. And it seemed like a natural fit for me to cover the Big 12, since I'm a Big 12 girl. Even though I didn't go to a Big 12 school, obviously I grew up knowing about the Big 12 and everything that happened with that. But then once I'd done sports for so many years, I got to that point where I was kind of burnt out, honestly. And people always told me that I was entertaining and that maybe I should focus on entertainment. I didn't have the drive to be an entertainment reporter in the beginning, but I love to read and I love to learn and I really love to listen. And there are stories to be told in every genre. So that is kind of how I made the jump from going to focusing on sports to going into the entertainment world and back, because I've done a mix of it all, making it to HLN.
You grew up in Houston, but you moved to Dallas. And you went to Plano, right? Plano Senior High, which is a big-time football school. If those don't know, I mean, I'm from Houston, but Plano, you'd always hear about them. You'd hear about Dallas Carter. There were a bunch of schools in the Dallas area that were really strong. So, I mean, it changes now, but I think if you look back, but you grew up really around sports. Your dad, your brothers, you were one of the ones that wanted to be in the middle of sports, right? What did that look like for your dad? Watching Cowboys games? Were you a Cowboys fan, or who were you growing up with at home back in Texas?
So it's funny because people always think it's weird that I am a Texans fan and I'm a Cowboys fan. And the reason I'm both is because when I was little living in Houston, we had the Oilers,
Oh yeah,
right?
love you
And so
blue.
then, yeah, so I was an
Houston Oilers. Houston Oilers. Hey, I love. Hey,
um,
look, I don't think I have my hat up here, but I have a hat. I have a shirt. I love the Oilers, so I hear you.
yeah, I mean, who didn't back then? Like the Oilers were the team. Warren Moon, like seeing a black quarterback growing up, that was normal to me, right? And so I was following the Oilers because that's who my dad and everybody rooted for. Then we didn't have the Oilers anymore, right? Remember, then we had the Titans
Yeah.
because, and they were an expansion team. Like, see, it's been so long that I think I was like 12 or 13 when this was all going on. So in meantime, I jump on the Cowboys bandwagon, right? And then what
Okay.
happens? We get the Texans. So I'm like, well, I can't not be a fan of my hometown team now that I've jumped over to the Cowboys. So the answer, when they play each other, I root for the Texans because I'm a
Okay.
Houston girl.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny the north part of Texas versus the southern part of Texas. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think people out in California, they have the NoCal, SoCal kind of thing, and yeah, it's a little bit of that in Texas. Well, not a little bit, a lot.
Mhm.
But there are a lot of Cowboys fans that migrated over to them after the Oilers left. So it's interesting. What are the differences for you? This is a random question, but from the barbecue perspective, North Dallas or North Texas versus South Texas,
Ooh.
what is it that you like about one versus the other? See, I
Okay,
told you
so
I'd
there
get you.
you did, yeah, you told the truth at the very beginning. I should have been prepared. So I will say this: when I am in North Texas, I go to this place called Hutchins. I hate that I'm saying it right now because the people who watch this are going to be in the line at Hutchins, and the line is going to be
And
longer
you
because
never
of
go
this.
get your food.
But Hutchins has made that list of the best barbecue places in Texas.
Mhm.
Why? Because consistently their brisket is just
Oh,
like butter. It's
yeah,
it's
yeah,
so good, And I'm the kind of person who you can tell if it's good barbecue, if or even if it's worth your time of getting out of your car if you can smell it through the vents. You know what I'm talking
exactly,
about? If you
exactly.
drive by and you can't smell it, that's boiled meat, and you need to keep driving
Well,
because that's just
to your point, when I moved to North Carolina, there's some really good barbecue here. But Eastern style, you don't always smell the smoke when you walk in, and they say, "Well, it's more vinegar based." I'm like, "Hey, it can have vinegar. I can put it on, but I gotta smell some smoke. I gotta
you
know
gotta
you're
smell
cooking
it.
my meat the way it's
That
needed."
part. You gotta smoke the meat. Let me tell you something. When they're like, "Oh, but once you put the sauce on," let me pause you. I shouldn't have to put any sauce on this for it to be good barbecue. If it's authentic, I'm just saying. But
Yeah,
Texas
yeah,
Monthly Magazine puts out their annual list of the best barbecue places in the country, right? So, I mean,
yeah,
obviously, I've had all the Central Texas one in
yeah,
Austin, amazing barbecue. I mean,
yeah.
it's world renowned. But if I'm going to go with my favorite right now, it is going to be Hutchins, and
Okay.
that's in North Texas. Oh, y'all H-Town, don't hate me. I'm
No,
sorry.
and what's funny, Melissa, people always ask me about play. I haven't lived in Houston since I was 17. My mom lives in Austin now, so I go there more. But I get good barbecue from people at home, like my uncles and folks that you
Same,
just go with
same.
family. You don't really need to go. So when I go to Central Texas, I want to try different places just because I want to see what they are. But if I really
Right,
want barbecue, Tony Newell,
right.
he knows it. Shout out to my uncle. Gary Cheney, another one. I mean, it's a bunch of guys that will bring barbecue to Austin just so I can get some grub. And it's more, but I can't name
Ah.
them all. But
Well, then
anyway,
I have to shout somebody out there real quick too. My uncle David. So whenever I'm home, and it's been a long time, my uncle David is in Plano. He will tell you that the sign of somebody, a pit master, is
yeah,
someone who can take a rough cut of meat
uh-huh,
and turn it into something that is savory and tender and juicy. Just so you go to the butcher and you say, just give me, a rough cut, because it's cheap, right?
yeah.
But if you can get that to be tender and juicy and that pink line, you got the crisp
Oh,
on the outside
yeah,
with that pink
yeah.
line.
Hey, Kev,
You got me
I'm talking to my
hungry.
producer now. I think we have a show in the making.
Do
Buck
you?
and Knows It All on barbecue.
Oh,
Tell your
okay. I'm
people,
here
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah. You
that.
call your people, I call my people. We'll get
Let's do it. Let's
that.
do it.
Yeah, it's nothing better than going to a person and they have good meat or good food and it's smoked and you taste it and they're like, "How is that?" And they don't even really ask you. They just know this is gonna be good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, tell us before we joined the new addition. Well, not so new. He's 2 now, right? Beckham, your son.
Beckham is 2. He just turned 2 this week. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's a Virgo like me, so that's great.
Oh, wait, when is your birthday?
September 13th. If I didn't tell you, I always tell everybody, just wait till that day. He should have been on the 13th, but that's a whole nother.
Okay.
No, but tell us about motherhood and what that's done for you. What has it been for you and your husband and your family? What does that mean to you?
Right. Honestly, I am so glad I waited until later in life to start a family. And it is monumentally more challenging than I ever anticipated it would be, especially considering the fact that I have been ambitious career-wise. Yeah. I absolutely love what I get to do every day on Morning Express with Robin Meade, because I am me on TV. And how many people get to say that they get to just be themselves on television? Obviously, I read a lot, I research a lot, and I knows it all. I do. I know what's going on in pop culture. Additionally, though, I have to know what is going on with my son, with Beckham. And I think that I wasn't prepared mentally younger in life to be a mom, to be as present as you need to be. And nothing really prepares you until you get in it, right?
Yeah, so true. So
right?
True.
And I think one of the hardest parts, while my mom is here visiting now, my mom is in Texas. My husband's family lives in North Carolina. So it's us. And my husband has a very demanding career as well. Now, in non-pandemic times, this is still challenging. People always talk about, how do you find the balance? I don't know if you ever really find the balance. I think it's more so you just kind of juggle a little bit, and sometimes one of the balls is in the air and the others have to be in your hands for a second, because you really have to grasp those to focus your energy or concentrate on what is needed of you in that moment. If I'm being really truthful, I'm pretty vain. This is a visual medium, what I do. It is. And so everybody's like, oh, girl, you're going to bounce back. You just going to bounce back. You're going to get your figure back. I did not just bounce back. And I'm skinny, but I'm fit, and I think that I was so worried about, oh my goodness, what am I going to look like after I have this child? This big-headed child of mine, okay?
Hey, don't stay off.
You're in the big head club.
Man, I am. Real quick. A lady came when I was little, and I can't remember her name when I was born. And she said, that baby got a fat head. My head hadn't quite gone into the body, but I was a cute boy, but I had a big old head, and it hadn't changed. But go ahead.
Well, let's hope that Beckham grows into his head the way you've grown into yours, because he's got a very large head. But I think that the hardest part of motherhood for me is just making sure that I am giving him as much of myself as I give to my career, if not more. And there's no guide, there's no book that says, okay, if he does this, do that. There are books, but you can't read a book in the moment. When he's throwing a tantrum or if he's sick, you just have to figure it out. And I wasn't as used to having to figure it out with a person as I've had to adapt with being a mom, with being Beckham's mom in particular. But I do love it. As hard as it is, the hardest, best job I've ever had.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Hey, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Melissa Knowles on Chopping It Up with Buck.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love.
Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available.
Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.
All right, we're back with Chopping It Up with Buck. I told you, Melissa Knowles and I are going to start a barbecue show pop culture, music, all that. Yeah, I'm dreaming. But hey, we got to get back to the one thing I asked you. Great answer about your son and family. Beyonce Knowles, Solange Knowles, the Knowles family, the epitome of Houston royalty. Are you related? Are you related?
The short answer is I don't know. Okay. I get asked this all the time. Look, it's not like Beyonce is on ancestry.com. Okay. And if she is, she's not listed as Beyonce, and neither is Solange. I'm assuming, because I have done the ancestry.com lookup. Knowles is my real last name. That is my maiden name. I am really from Houston, Texas. I'm a brown skinned girl, as you see, and proud of it. But I haven't really dug into that to see whether or not we're related. Why have I not done that? Because what am I going to go to Beyonce and be like, girl, I just love you and I want to hang out? I mean, what? I don't know what to do with
you
that.
have hot sauce in your bag? Do you have hot sauce in your bag? What about lemon? I mean, hey, you could just you can have fun with it. See, if it were me, I would say something crazy like that. Jay-Z would be like, hey.
Well, it's funny that you bring up Jay-Z. So remember when Beyonce was the headline performer for the Super Bowl in New Orleans? You remember that? So I got to cover that Super Bowl for Yahoo Sports that year. It was just one of the best experiences that I've ever had in sports, even when the lights went out. I mean, everything about it was just incredible. Well,
that was a great game. Everything around it was, that was
great.
Wild.
It was wild. It was great. But the entertainment, I mean, just the fact that it was Beyonce, you were just so excited. And then the fact that she was going to bring out Destiny's Child, there were rumors that she was going to, right? That they were going to have a reunion, but we didn't know for sure. But you kind of did, right? Well, you know how they have all the press conferences leading up to the big game. Well, when they have the headliners press conference, I had this producer from Yahoo Sports. He was like, okay, Melissa, we're going to do our best to see if we can get this interview with Beyonce. We're just going to go back here backstage and see. I'm like, what? What are we going to do? And he said, well, I think Jay-Z's over there. This is all in the moment. I was not knowing that this is what was happening. Jay-Z's just standing off to the side of the stage. Beyonce is up on the stage. Her mom, Tina, is in the back waving at me. I guess she thought she knew me, like I must have been a cousin or something. She was like, hey. And I was like, hey. And she was like, hey. And so as we get closer, Jay-Z is looking right at me. And my producer's like, he's looking at you. Okay, let's go. I'm like, oh, okay. So we walk over there and my producer starts talking before I can utter a word. I don't even know how we were able to get this close to Jay-Z. But my producer's like, so this is Melissa Knowles. She's Beyonce's cousin. And I'm like, what? I'm just kind of nodding and smiling. And Jay-Z leans into me and is like, what's up? What's up, kinfolk? And hugs me. It was one of those awkward hugs where you don't hug back. I just put my arms straight like this, like, oh, hi. He's like, really, your cousins? We haven't met before. And I'm like, because I don't know if that's true. I just would love an opportunity to interview Beyonce, if that's okay. My name is Melissa Knowles. I am from Houston. He was like, well, you'd have to go through her people. And it was a very strange encounter, but I never got to meet her. I did get hugged by Jay-Z though, and I did get waved at by Beyonce's mom. So does that count? Well, that's the whole story. And I was so embarrassed by my producer doing that because I had no idea. I don't even remember the producer's name. It was someone I just worked with that day.
Hey, so speaking of that, it's interesting, the social issues in our world. I mean, we can have fun, but I also think it's really important. And I've watched your show when you talked about Breonna Taylor, when you talked about Ahmaud Arbery, when you talked about George Floyd, when you talked about some of the heavy things that we have going on. You have sports and the NBA and the NFL are all trying to, enough is enough, Black Lives Matter, all of those things. Pop culture comes into play with that. How have your producers and how have you addressed it as a Black woman? Because the one thing that I'm always cognizant of having a daughter and aunts and, moms, I don't know if we lend credence enough to how much Black women play in that whole struggle, the civil rights movement, everything. We talk about the great men, but I've watched some of the shows that you've done and really talked about the different things there. Tell us a little bit about how that's come across and how you've been able to share your voice as a Black woman in this time of social injustice.
So oftentimes when there is an opportunity to talk about some of the tougher things that we're dealing with right now as a nation, particularly as it pertains to Black Lives Matter and the deaths of Black people at the hands of police brutality, I have to keep it news focused when I'm on the air. It has to be fact-based reporting, even when especially when we're talking about stories like Breonna Taylor and what happened to her. And I always, my team and I always try to put it in the context of how this information is getting out to everybody else. So how people are talking about it on social media, how Oprah is putting out billboards about Breonna Taylor, how Oprah put Breonna Taylor on the cover of her magazine. First time ever she put somebody else on the cover. So we always put it in the context of pop culture. Aside from what I do on the air on Morning Express, I have weekly conversations with one of my closest friends, Errol Barnett. He is a correspondent for CBS News. And that is where we are really able to converse in an open forum on IG Live about how we really feel and what's going on. Because this is hard. And I think that so many people who see the mainstream media assume that it doesn't affect us. And I don't know how they could think that, because I was born Black, I'm gonna die Black, and I live as a Black woman every single day. So absolutely I'm affected by what's going on in our world right now. I'm raising a Black son, so I think that in order to be able to tell the stories of people who have died at the hands of police brutality, and in order to be able to really understand what's going on, I would be remiss if I did not have these open forum conversations, if I did not make it known that we are affected and that we do want to be a part of the change that we hope to see, that this needs to stop. I think Maria Taylor does a fantastic job of articulating exactly how most of us feel.
Yeah, Maria was on the show and we talked about that, and it's amazing because I've watched her kind of develop, and the same thing. Where did you get your voice? How did you get it? And I think it's for all of us. You get to a point where you say, okay, I have to do what's going to be prudent, but it ain't always going to be the thing that's easy. And I like the show that you and Errol do because it talks about it. And the one thing that I always keep going back to is if you are look like us, you want to make sure you get home, and you don't always have that. I think the dialogue is good, but now what do we continue to do to make it not just about police brutality, but other things that are the social inequities, the wealth inequities, all of those things I think are playing a big role. You have some people that push back on Vanity Fair and Oprah putting Breonna Taylor on the cover. I saw one of your episodes that kind of talked about that. What was the pushback, or what did you hear? Or did you get, certain email? What was it that came across from that?
So it's rare that I get a nasty email. I don't know if people just, because I smile a lot, feel like they don't want to be mean to me. I don't know. I tend not to get too many of those. I think that some of the pushback though comes from people who are, I don't want to call it woke because that term is way overused right now, but people who are ignorant of real facts, if we're being honest. What you just said about the fact that we are brown-skinned people and we worry about getting home every day if we're out driving around or wherever we are in public. I think that for people who are not in Black or brown skin, who don't really understand the struggles that we are enduring right now, they need to take the time to educate themselves. Because if you don't educate yourself about what we are experiencing, you're not going to have the experience. My husband is a white boy. My husband is a white boy from New Jersey. Now, was that someone who I thought, oh, I see myself with this person, or I want to, or I see myself with someone who's a Jewish white boy from New Jersey, and I'm a brown-skinned Catholic girl from Texas. How could he possibly understand me?
Yeah.
Not only does he understand me, but he takes the time to learn and research and get to know what the heck is going on in this world. And to your point about going beyond just having this open dialogue forever, as you know, I'm always trying to bring others up who want to be in this business like us. I'm never going to be the one who says, oh, you don't have what it takes, or oh, you can't wear your natural hair. I make it a point to mentor as much as I possibly can. Senator Kamala Harris talks about how you can't just be the only one. You may be the first one, but don't let yourself be the only one who makes it. You got to bring everybody else up with you. And part of doing that is educating everybody else around you and educating yourself as well, because I'm learning a lot right now. I'm reading a lot so that I am aware of what's going on outside of my own little world.
You know, you bring up something. I'm doing a lot of reading as well, more introspection as well as looking out. And the one thing I always tell people, and people call, you know, you've had people you've known over the years. I don't know if they didn't want to know what was going on or just chose not to think about it. But I always tell people that call and say, hey, what can I do? I'll talk to them and I'll say, you got to listen. But the other thing is, how many folks of color or just different that don't look like you are around your crew? You and the people that you interact with. Do you break bread? Do you go to church where it looks all like you? Do you do things that are different than just being in the same place and trying to look like everybody else? Or are you really have, not just say I have Black friends or I have Latino friends? No, do you know people outside of that? And if you can say yes, then that's a start. If you say, I don't know, or you can't answer that, that's the part that I always struggle with.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love.
Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available.
Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
So I mean, as you transition, you know, through this journey, I guess, that we go through, what's next? What are the other things that you want to do? I mean, you know, you've got a great job now. What are some of the other things you see on the horizon as you know, evolve in this industry, going from sports to pop culture to, you know, sharing your voice? What are the next things for Melissa Knowles?
So something that has been in the works for a number of years that really was just a joke at first when podcasting first started. My best friend Errol and I have been working on figuring out, how do we launch a podcast? It's challenging because we work for competing networks to be able to put that out there. But what we're finding is that when we have those open conversations on Instagram, people are asking us, why don't you guys have a podcast? This will be great in podcast form. So that's something that is in the works right now. I started my own production company earlier this year.
Cool.
That's breaking news for you. Boop, boop. People don't really know that.
See, I told you we're going to get, so production of what, Melissa? What are you going to be producing? What projects will you be working on?
So that's a good question. We haven't started. I haven't quite figured that out yet. But the reason why I started it is because I've always been saying, for years, I'm going to have my own production company. I'm going to have it. I'm going to have it. And then when the pandemic started, I'm like, what am I waiting for? If you don't start and commit to something, there's always going to be an idea, right? My goal is to tell people stories. And I know in this business, people's attention spans are very short. So I love documentaries. I would like to create many documentaries, and they can span any subject matter. I just want to be able to tell people stories. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I just want people to be able to tell me what's going on in their lives and how whatever's happening in their lives, what's impacted them, what's made them change, what's made them better. And I want to give them the opportunity to tell their stories. So that's what I want to do. Additionally, and I don't know how long this is going to take, I've been writing a book just about my life and my journey. And where I see myself, and it's not even really giving people advice. It's just like, people are always asking, how did you get to where you are? Well, this book will tell you. This book will tell you. So there you go.
Production company. And I love the IG live that you do. I haven't been called for it, so I guess I don't raid on you and Errol's. I'm a Bogart one day and get on the show. But no, in the production company, that is really cool. I'm proud of you. I really am.
Thank you.
I can remember as a young sideline reporter just asking, like, You were wide-eyed. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Tell us about the best thing that's happened in this industry for you, but probably also where you felt like, hey, I didn't get, it was a failure. It was a thing where you went home and you just cried, or you just didn't, how did you feel forward? How did you feel and get out of that, as well as a major success for you?
Okay, so let's start with the failure. I always like to start from the bottom and then lift you up. So I would say 2013 was one of the hardest years of my life.
Okay.
I was no longer hosting the show called Trending Now for Yahoo, because I was living in New York at the time, but my marriage was falling apart, because I'm now on my last marriage, but second marriage. I'm telling y'all all my business up in here. It's because of you, Buck. But 2013 was one of the hardest years of my life. I left my job, moved back home with my parents, and said, I got to figure this out. It was a make or break time for me. Like, who am I and what do I want? That took some real introspective time to myself to just sit there and be like, what do I want? Who am I? Right? Who am I if I'm not Melissa Knowles, if I'm not on television, right? And I think that once I kind of got through that, once I stepped away from TV for about 6 months or so, and focused my energy somewhere else, I started working as a social worker at a nonprofit in Houston. And I just kind of focused on helping other people. That's how I found my way back to me. And when I was trying to get my job that I have now with CNN and HLN, I remember going into, this is probably my 4th or 5th interview. They brought me in so many times, and this last time they're getting ready to bring me in, I remember, I'm like, what we doing? I remember telling my agent, I'm like, okay, Karen, look, this is the last time I'm gonna go in here, because if they wanted me, they would have offered me the job already. She's like, that's not how it works with them. They bring you in time after time. It's not a one interview kind of situation. So, I mean, this is over a course of a year and a half or so that I've been interviewing with them, right? Wow. So I'm like, okay. I'll do this last interview. And I remember the woman who interviewed me, who is now a very close friend of mine, said, so why do you really want this job? And I said, can I be candid? She said, please. I said, you know why I want this job? I want this job because I know exactly who I am now. 6 months ago, I didn't know who I was or what I wanted in life. I'm in the middle of a divorce, and I'm ready to get back on my feet, and I'm ready to work. In fact, I have my IFB in my bag right now. So if you need to send me out into the field, let's go. And she was like, wow. People don't usually open up like that in an interview. And I'm like, what do I have to lose? I think that when you are real with yourself and you confront what you're afraid of, that opens up a world of possibilities for you. And that's what it took for me. So my greatest success has been coming back from that, hitting rock bottom, getting divorced in my early 30s and thinking, oh my goodness, and walking away from television for a while and refocusing and having that introspective time where I'm like, well, this is who I am. I am a storyteller. I can do this. Let's go.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. You talk about that fire. Sometimes, you don't know if you have it, but when moments like that, I think when your book comes out, and any book you've read about great people or people that have overcome adversity, it's always not the successes that you look at and say, wow, it's the failures, but what do they do with that? And I bet you that woman was blown away because she could see your passion. You retelling the story raised the hair on the back of my neck. It did. I mean, it did. It really did. Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with Melissa. She's given us all of it, knows it all, and we'll be right back on Chopping It Up with Buck.
Live it, fit energy, lose weight, gain energy.
Hi, I'm Mike Gardner, founder of Thin Energy, the wellness energy that delivers each and every time.
In 6 weeks that I've been taking Thin Energy, I feel fantastic.
I lost 7 pounds in the first week.
You just squeeze it in, you take a shot, and you're done.
Get your joints, get you hype, get you ready.
I feel great.
Jump on, try Thin Energy.
Drink it, live it.
Thin Energy.
All right, we're back with Melissa Knowles on Chopping It Up with Buck. So Melissa, before we left, you were talking about your production company. Tell us the name of the production company, and do you have a name for that and the book as well? We want to give you a shine.
Ooh, trying to get all my information out there. Okay, so the name of my production company is, it fits with my brand, Knowles It All. It's Knowles It All Productions. I don't actually think I know it all. I'm just trying to discover it all. And I think that Knowles It All encompasses that. And it's easy to remember. That's my name on all social media platforms. And that's how you reach me. I'm Knowles It All. The book, I haven't released the title yet. I'm gonna hold that one a little. I'm gonna hold that one to myself for now. But I think that let's just say the title of the book reflects exactly who I am, who I've become.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, and branding. I think that's really important because so many people have great ideas and they do different things. What made you understand the art of branding? Because I like that. When I watch people and I see them doing different things, they have it everywhere and you know how to find them. Tell us a little bit about that and why you chose what you did and how you do it consistently.
Yeah, I think that branding is important because it helps people. You need to make it easy on your viewers or your audience. They shouldn't have to figure out how to find you. And I learned very early on that continuity across platforms makes it easier to do that. So if you were to type in Knowles It All of my social platforms come up. There's not, oh, I'm Melissa.Knowles over here, or I'm Knowles hyphen this. That continuity just makes it clearer and easier for your audience to locate you. I think I started knowing how important that was when strangers would reach out to me and be like, how did you find me? And they're like, well, I just Googled Knowles It All. I'm like, oh, okay. That's how you do that, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, it really was that simple. I think that people overthink it sometimes. You just have to keep it simple. And how Knowles It All came about, I was actually given that name by my editor at my school paper. Remember, I told you I didn't always want to be a broadcaster. When I was at SMU, I was a staff writer, and then I made it up to editor by my junior year. But I was a staff writer, and our editor-in-chief made fun of me because I was so skinny. And he would say, and people would call the newspaper and ask for Melissa Knowles. So it was like olive oil, but canola oil is what he called me. He'd say, well, canola oil, somebody's on the phone asking for Melissa Knowles. And I was like, oh, I can't believe they always mispronounce my name. It's so easy. It's Knowles, like Knowles It All. And he was like, oh, Knowles It All. And that moment was when Knowles It All was born. So that was in like 2002.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Well, we do something here at the end of the show, 2-minute warning. And basically 2-minute drill for football because you got to score, right? So you're in the 2-minute drill, you score, you win. But we make this simple for you because we want you to score, right? So first off.
Wait a minute, let me warm up. Let me drink some light. Let me, okay.
Okay,
go ahead. I'm ready, I'm ready, go.
Now, it has been said that if you could play football, you would be a free safety for the Dallas Cowboys. Who was the influencer of that? Where did that come from? Which free safety do you want to pattern your game after?
You know what? There wasn't even a free safety actually who did that. I played free safety in college on the all-girls intramural team. That's where that came from because I was a soul sister. That was the name of our intramural team.
So you would have been Darren Woodson or James Washington, who I played with. So, okay, I got it. That's good. When you're driving down the field, you're getting some things going. Tell us about the Magnificent Seven.
Oh, how do you know about the Magnificent Seven?
I do my research. Come on.
Research. So I am my mother's only child, but my father has a total of 7 of us, and we are all very close. He made sure that we were all very, very close. I fall right in the middle of the 7, and I don't even know who coined that Magnificent 7, but we have family Zoom calls, and we have a thread, a message thread, a text message thread, and it's always like, hey, Magnificent 7, and I don't know who came up with that, but the Magnificent 7 are, and I guess I could go in order from youngest to oldest, Matthew Knowles, no relation, or perhaps maybe some, Malcolm Knowles, Marissa Knowles, Melissa Knowles, Ayana Knowles, Brian Knowles, and Tyene Knowles. So there are those are the Magnificent Seven.
I love it. I love it. So I mean, you gotta, when we do this, when we put this out, you gotta send it to the Magnificent Seven. They gotta see this because this is too cool. What's in your what do you listen to? What's your influence for music right now? Spotify, Apple Music, it doesn't matter. But what's on your, when you turn it on, when you go into your office and you getting it going, what is it that you're listening to right now?
Oh my goodness. I should have known that you were going to ask me something about this. I like to listen to old school music, especially during these times. I mean, old school. I call it old school, but the music that was around the time I was in high school, the kids now call old school. But I love to turn on some Al Green or some Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder always makes me feel so good, right? Because his music has so much soul and passion in it. Now, you know Gladys Knight and Patti LaBelle are going to do a versus battle.
On my birthday.
Yeah, your birthday.
Yes.
That's your birthday present. That's your present, brother.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
So I listen to the classics, you know. I think that but no, don't get me wrong. I do listen to DaBaby. I do listen to Cardi B.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I listen to it all, and I like country music too. I grew up listening to country music because my grandmother lives in a rural part of East Texas, and that's all you can really get out there with country music. So, but yeah, I listen to a lot of the greats. I listen to Stevie Wonder is one of my favorite artists of all time. I love Eric Clapton too. Eric Clapton because my dad loves Eric Clapton.
Well, I'll tell you about country music. Growing up in Texas, you're going to be exposed to it. But I'll tell you a guy that I really like right now, and it may be nouveau country, is Chris Stapleton. Bad dude right now.
I love Chris Stapleton.
He's a bad dude. He's a bad dude.
His voice,
so
good.
Well, the story behind him, too, is he was a writer and didn't want to sing. And I think his wife and those others just said, look, no, you got to do this. You're too good. And now he's singing it. I really like that. Hey, the last question. The last question for you, since I've stumped you a couple of times.
Yeah.
When did you know Scott was going to be your husband? Because the woman always chooses us. We don't choose y'all. We can think we can, but when did you know Scott was the one?
When did I know? Was it when I sent him a picture of the ring I wanted? No, I'm kidding. I'm almost finished, sweetie. Sorry, guys. That's
fine. That's fine.
Gosh, I would say I knew Scott was going to be my husband when I was drowning and he jumped in the water, figuratively. He jumped in the water to rescue me. He's not the kind of person who's going to describe the water that you're drowning in. Yeah. He's not going to throw you a life raft. He's the person who's going to jump in there with you. We were just friends for the longest time. But there were several moments that I was like, this is really something.
Yeah.
I remember, you know what, I guess if I'm really being honest, there was a moment when I was really upset because something had happened and he just listened to me. And I remember pouring my heart out and realizing that I could be my unapologetic self with him and that he'd seen every version of me and loved every one of them, even ones I didn't like very much. I'm like, this is something. I mean, really, he's seen, the loud Melissa, the funny Melissa, the sad Melissa, all of those Melissas. And he just embraced every one of those Melissas. And he makes me laugh harder than anybody can ever. No one can bring a smile to my face the way Scott does.
Well, you picked it off, took it back to the house for the Soul Sisters. You score. I'll say this for you. As you were saying that, I was thinking about a song by Incognito, Deep Waters. You gotta, if you don't know it, look it up, listen to it. It's so many different songs about water and drowning, but that was the one that just came to mind. Deep Waters by Incognito is the perfect ending to this interview with you. It's been great. Always good to catch up with you. I'm so happy for your success. Even though you never put me on your shows, you always welcome on these platforms. I'm teasing you.
In the future, you know what? Because you just spoke it into existence, brother. You better be ready for the call.
You know I'm ready. I'm always ready. But great to see all the success. So good having you on the Chopping It Up with Buck. I can't wait to see all your success, your book, your production company, and everything else. And much love to you and your family. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Buck. Great being here with you.
Hi, I'm Mike Gardner, founder of Thin Energy, the wellness energy that delivers each and every time.
In 6 weeks that I've been taking Thin Energy, I feel fantastic.
I lost 7 pounds in the first week.
You just squeeze it in, you take a shot, and you're done.
Get your drinks, get you hype, get you ready.
I feel great.
Jump on, try Thin Energy.
Drink it, live it.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love.
Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available.
Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.